Hello, this is Dana Arcuri from danaarcuri.com, author, speaker, survivor, and trauma recovery coach. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to talk about a really serious and sensitive topic, and I will list the 15 warning signs that you're in an abusive relationship. And then at the end of this video, I will give you tips to end the cycle of abuse. So let's have a little chat. Have you in the past, or are you currently dealing with a toxic person who is abusing you in one form or another? Are you dealing with someone who's bullying you, manipulating you, harassing you, who might be hurting you very, very badly? If so, share the comments, tell me your story, and we're going to continue this talk. So first, let's get to the definition of an abusive relationship. Okay, so according to stoprelationshipabuse.org, relationship abuse is a pattern of abusive and coercive behaviors used to maintain power and control over a person. Abuse can be mental, emotional, financial, sexual, and or physical. It can include threats, isolation, and intimidation. Typically, when people are abusive, they're like bullies. It's like they're on this whole other level, like junior high, toddler, having their little games and their little pranksters and their little jokes and their really cruel words, behaviors, and actions to intentionally hurt you. And so this is serious, and this is no joking matter. And so we can take a deep dive into, who are the predators? Who are the abusers? And so they can be your mother or your father. It could be your brothers or your sisters or another relative. It could be an intimate partner, a spouse, or in most cases, when we're dealing with like intimate partners and spouses, oftentimes it's the ex-partner, the ex-spouse who is very, very abusive. And that's why the relationship ended. I mean, let's keep it real. Why did the relationship end? Because you were involved, whether it was marriage or just a boyfriend-girlfriend type of relationship, that was extremely toxic, that was malicious, that was violent, that was cruel, and that was psychologically and or physically abusive. And that's why you went no contact to begin with. Next is that this person could be a friend or an ex-friend. It could be your coworker, it could be your boss, your supervisor, someone in the workplace, it could be your roommate, and technically, really, it could be anyone on earth. So share with me, who is the person who has been or is still abusing you today. Next, let's talk about what is involved with this. Okay, so when it comes to predators and abusers, it may be, but may not be, a malignant narcissist. Now, I'm saying this and disclosing this because a lot of you have been following me, subscribed to my channel, and you have dealt with one or more narcissists and toxic people in your life. So I get a lot of people who write to me and they share their stories. And I thank you for that because it helps me understand what you're going through. And it really validates and confirms that none of us are alone. We're all in this together. And yes, it has been quite a traumatic experience. So typically, this abusive relationship includes manipulation, gaslighting, and bullying. So this abusive relationship tends to escalate over time. It typically is not something that's just you meet someone, you start dating them, and then they're automatically abusive. No, they're very covert. They're very sly. They know what they're doing. They might be charismatic. They might be a charmer, and they know how to groom you. And this is what they do at the beginning of your relationship. They might at first seem so loving and caring and adoring, and then everything unravels, and one by one, month by month, year by year, and it might be even decades later, you discover how malicious, violent, and psychologically abusive they truly are. Physical or sexual abuse is easy to recognize, because people might have bruises, scars, they might have scratches, they might have internal damage and injury. So the injuries could be external, but also internal. But then we must know that emotional and mental abuse is not as easy to be discovered. So emotional abuse is very insidious and it's extremely traumatic. A lot of people have dealt with being bullied and gaslit and mentally abused. And some people end up with PTSD. If it's long-term, you might end up with complex PTSD. Oftentimes, if someone is just mentally abusing you and bullying you, it might go undetected for a lengthy amount of time by you, your family, your friends, and those around you. Whereas if it's physical abuse or like outright violence, and you do have scars and you do have cuts and bruises and marks all over your body, maybe you have broken bones, you will then be able to have evidence because we could see it. But we have to understand that a lot of abusive relationships, we cannot clearly see this, especially if it's more like a bullying, manipulation, and mental types of abuse. So mental abuse, which is used to gain power and control in a relationship, may include them insulting you, they have harsh judgments of you, name calling, criticizing you, gaslighting you, swearing at you, ridiculing you, stonewalling you, harshly judging you, manipulating you, bullying and stalking you, deceit and denial, threats. They might threaten your life, they might threaten your safety or your family or something else. It might be your pet, it might be your finances, it might be, they threaten to blow up your home. I mean, really, we have to understand that people who are extremely abusive and toxic, maybe they're sociopathic, maybe they are a narcissist, but they might not be. So we have to really keep our understanding clear that there's a lot of different types of people who are abusive, and just be on the lookout for these signs. Next is they might also lie, steal, and cheat on you. And we often hear of this over and over and over. So here are the 15 warning signs that you're in an abusive relationship. Number 1. After habitually hurting you, the toxic person has selective amnesia. Good grief. Suddenly they claim, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I don't recall that. Gee, I don't know what's happening. Oh, you're just so sensitive. Oh no, it's your imagination. So a lot of us have experienced this selective amnesia from the toxic abusers, and this is their go-to card. Next is number 2. They accuse you of doing and saying things that you never said or did. So it's just crazy making. But what this is called is projection. So they project a lot of crap and false claims and lies onto you. And this is very common, especially in toxic, narcissistic relationships. Number 3, they are highly manipulative and sneaky people. They will go behind your back and spread rumors, smear campaigns, and retaliate against you. Number 4, the abuser will gaslight you and make you doubt your own sanity. Number 5, they will try to make you feel guilty or ashamed in effort to blame shift you. And so it's very common that abusers will never take accountability or responsibility for their cruel and spiteful words, actions, and behaviors. Number 6, they're pathological liars. They constantly deny the truth, cover up the truth. They try to cover their own tracks because they don't want to get caught. Next, they lack empathy, compassion, and remorse. No. These types of people who are toxic predators and abusers are not feeling guilty. A lot of times, this type of person is a sociopath. They just have no conscious reality of what they're doing, how it impacts others, and the long-term traumatic experience that the victims go through. Next is that they accuse you of being the crazy one. So after all their crazy making, three-ring circus, and all of their manipulation, they're hoovering, they're baiting you, they're spreading rumors about you, and then they turn around and they call you crazy. Now that, my friend, is also a go-to tactic that abusers do use, and it's very common. Next is that typically they have a Jekyll and Hyde persona. So one minute they're super sweet to you, they might give you a compliment, and then out of nowhere, unexpectedly, the next minute they're a raging lunatic, they lash out at you, and they might actually physically attack you. Number 10 is they have abrupt mood changes. So they're very mentally unstable people. They have emotional dysregulation. And this leaves you walking on eggshells. Are you going through this right now? If so, leave some comments sharing your story. Number 11 is during an argument, they use physical force to hurt you. Number 12 is they have extreme jealousy of you, your relationships with other people, your friends, your family, your pets, your children, everything that's wonderful going on in your life. So when you have like really good things and you have accomplishments and success and happiness and really great things transpiring in your life, they become extremely envious of you and they hate it. They don't want good things happening to you. Next is that the toxic person who is abusive is very controlling. So they're controlling of you, your life, your health, your job, your appearance, your other relationships, what you wear, what you say, what you do. It just gets really petty and ridiculous. Next is 14. The toxic abusive people punish you for setting healthy boundaries. They will continue to disrespect not only you, but your clear boundaries. And number 15, they play the victim card. Oh, woe is me. So what they do is they will change the story. They will change the narrative of the truth. So if anything goes wrong, they say it's your fault. Oftentimes they accuse you of being the abuser, and it's actually them. So it's very common and normal for these toxic abusive people to play the victim card and act like it's them. We've seen this in the news. We've seen this with so many different cases of violence, of murder, of rape. It goes on and on and on. And so be aware of them playing the victim card. So all forms of abuse within a relationship are extremely traumatic and painful. Please know that if someone has abused you in the past or if they are currently abusing you right now, it is not your fault. It is not your fault. And this needs to be stated. Some emotions that are common and normal in these traumatic events. And so understand now this is a trauma response and there's a normal pattern of how we can react when we are the victim of abuse. And so some of the feelings are you might feel confused, exhausted, emotionally and physically drained. You might feel sadness, stressed out, anxiety, grief, and loss. You might feel trapped and stuck in this toxic relationship and you're not sure how to get out. You might feel heartbroken. You might feel betrayed. You may feel helpless and powerless, and you might feel depression and anxiety. Plus, there's a lot of other emotions that go into this. So despite the toxic people's lame excuses of why they abused you, we can understand that relationship abuse is not about and not caused by alcohol, drugs, someone who has stress in their life, someone who has anger management issues, someone who's dealing with being provoked. No, there is no excuse for abuse. There is no excuse for abuse. Not for mental abuse, not for sexual abuse, not for physical abuse, not for domestic violence, and not for any other form of abuse. You did nothing wrong. So this needs to be stated. A lot of people, they're told it's your fault. You're the problem. I've experienced this myself, okay, with my toxic birth family. And this is, again, another common behavior that happens from these toxic people. So they won't accept the truth. They'll deny their unconscious reality, and they will create a lot of fabricated lies. Ultimately, it is the perpetrator's choice to abuse. We must hold abusers accountable. Today, right now, they must be responsible for what they have done. It sends a clear message to others that all forms of abuse will not be tolerated. Not for me and not for you. Here are some options and helpful tips for you to end the cycle of abuse. Seek emotional support. Speak to at least one trustworthy person, whoever it may be. Contact your local authority and/or attorney if you are being abused. Get a restraining order if you feel unsafe or if someone is threatening you or your children. Document what they say, what they do, even if it's behind closed doors or whether it's online or whether they're blasting lies on Facebook or social media. It's really, really important for you to start taking pictures of what they're saying and doing. Document it, date it, save it in a private place, and understand that these documents of everything that is happening with the malicious toxic abuser, it's evidence, okay? So when we have screenshots of what's going on behind the scenes and we're documenting, we might be journaling what's happening, the time, the day, the description, who it was, and exactly what transpired. This is evidence of what happened. And we could say, yes, it was really, really bad. And yes, this did happen. And you have proof. And this is in your favor when it comes to anything legal. Next is call the Domestic National Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7273, and I will list that resource down below. And lastly, if you are in an abusive relationship, please understand that it's really crucial for you to separate yourself from this person. So whether it's domestic violence, whether it's a toxic sibling, whether it's a narcissist, or whether it's just some sexual predator, a family member, a coworker, or whoever it may be, understand that it's not okay that they're abusing you and that you have legal rights and that you can seek help. So pick up the phone, call the local police, call an attorney, call the FBI, do what you need to do to stay safe and to find peace of mind. Are you being abused right now, or have you experienced it in the past? Who was the person and what did they do to you? Please share your story down below and like my video, subscribe to my channel, and let's keep these comments going. And please know that there is hope for healing. If you have experienced traumatic, abusive relationships, you might want to check out my certified trauma recovery coaching at DanaArcuri.com. I'm here to support you people. And so I thank you so much today for sharing your story, and keep on keeping on. Know that there is no excuse for abuse and your boundaries do matter. God bless and have a beautiful day.